All right, so welcome. So this lecture, what we're going to be discussing is Adobe Illustrator. So you might be wondering, why are we getting into Adobe Illustrator? That seems kind of far off from nutrition and computer applications. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because Illustrator is a very important tool for creating graphics. And if you're making web pages or if you have any kind of online presence, Illustrator can be very handy for this, to learn how to, edit graphics, create your own graphics. And in this situation, actually, what we're going to be covering is this idea of how do you create your own logo. So first, as a caveat to this, there's actually a nice complement to this. There's a web page that I have a link for here, this Net Magazine one. It's a tutorial on how to create a logo, and it goes through the basics on how to reorganize text files or the fonts and things of that sort. We don't really have to go through all of this kind of stuff. It's a little bit more simple that I'm trying to get to, but any of the techniques, if you're getting confused, this web page will be a really nice resource for you. So just so you kind of have a sense of what I want you guys to do at the end of this assignment, what I want you to do is basically make a logo. So for example, here's one that I've been just kind of playing around with and made. Notice here, it's not the greatest logo. I totally get that. But it's more of just trying to show the idea that you can edit things. And so the three things I basically am going to try to cover today is, one, the advantages of finding free vectors online. I'll describe what that is in a second. That's where I got these images from. And then two, the advantages and how easy it is to actually adjust your fonts and make them look exactly as you want. Potentially to do things like taking out a letter and putting in a new letter, or changing the spacing and all that kind of stuff. All this stuff is actually very easy to do, and it can create a very customized looking logo for yourself. So first of all, what is a vector? In case you guys have never heard that term, a vector is basically a term for the types of image files that you can have that are used. It basically keeps all of the different components of an image connected and separated. So for example here, you can see here when you can just Google. I was really interested in this idea of finding like maybe a heart or something like that. And so I've just Googled in here, and really all you need to make sure you put in is this idea of free vector image. You Google this, and then what you can see here is you might pop up with a bunch of different options, different web pages. You can then just kind of click through these to find an image that you want. So see here, this is actually a collection of free vectors. And so each one of these is its own little image that you can then use and edit. So I've already downloaded this. It downloads as a file that you can put into Illustrator, and you just go into here. And then notice here, each one of these is its own little separate image that I can pull from, edit, and influence in any way I want. Another thing to notice here that a very important thing when you first open up these files, a really key thing that you want to play with is this idea of layers. Okay, this is where all the information is stored, and you'll also notice even within each one of these there might be several other layers to it. So here, like right here, you can see this is this path, for example. If I start taking out these images, you can see how little parts of it is actually being taken apart. This is really handy because it allows you to edit just the parts that you care about and are kind of working with. And so you might, vectors are a really nice way to kind of get the shapes, the image, the general spot that you want to have. So first task that I'm going to have you guys do is actually just think of a phrase that you might want to design around. So maybe if you guys are working on like vegetarianism or something, just maybe say like healthy vegetarianism. Maybe those are kind of your 2-word phrase, or if you have a better idea, whatever it will be, that's fine. For me, I decided to go with designing health just because that's the name of my lab, the Designing Health Lab. So I was kind of going with this, and so the two things that I thought I wanted to look up was some kind of image that was showing this idea of kind of creating something. And so I thought the image of like a pencil might be nice. So I actually found a bunch of these vectors here. You can see this tubes, or this little easel, paint, any one of these things. All of these are little vectors with different layers and groupings within it. So I basically found this online, and then I pulled it into my logo. So I pulled it in, and I can adjust it. I can add and contrast. You notice I actually didn't use all the components of this vector. I just copied and pasted it, and I put it right into here. So I've got one vector right here. And notice I didn't actually have to create this image. That's really important and handy. There's lots and lots of free vectors that are available for you to use for this kind of work. The important thing, just like with all the other ones, you want to make sure you check the copyright on it. There's a lot of them that you might need to buy. There's also some that have certain legal obligations around them, but usually you can find a relatively nice vector image for yourself that's free, that doesn't have any copyright problems. So just make sure you always read the fine print and don't take anything that has any kind of legal obligation to you. Okay, so you can see here, I basically pulled this out to create this idea of a pencil. And then what I wanted to do is, I like this idea. I started playing around with different fonts that I might want to use. And so I just wrote this idea, Designing Health. And what you can do here, this is the font I like, but a nice thing you can do if you right click or if you go up here to type, you can just kind of start to adjust the fonts to these things. Okay, here we go. So for example, you can see here a nice thing when you go into here, you can see all of the many different variations of a theme on this. Since I wanted it to kind of have this sort of brush stroke, I decided to go with this one, this sort of italicized look. But again, you should pick through, play around with as many different fonts as you want. And the nice thing then again that you can do here is you can actually transform and edit these arrangements. You can take out different fonts and things like that. All you have to do once you actually create a typeface, notice here there's these groups and then there's these layers. So you can see how each one of these letters is its own letter or own layer. So you can see I just took out the L, for example, or the A or the E. I can do that however I want. If I get into this full group again. Another thing you can do, if you double click, you'll actually get into isolating these ones, so then you can move these things around. Say you want the A up here, or you want kind of like this weird offset pattern, something like that. You can basically do that with this. I don't really like that, so I'm going to adjust that back. And you can actually just use the Control-Z as a quick way to kind of get back to previous versions. So you can kind of create that. Now another nice thing that you can do, notice I pulled this heart vector, okay, and so this is the one that I used in particular for this. And so all I did with this one was I basically pulled in the full vector. Imagine here, if I do this again, I can just copy and paste this, and I threw this in here, bam. And so notice here, there's a few things that you can do. So right away, I didn't want to have the red color. So notice here, these are the two colors for the inside and outside. So this is the inside. I just wanted it to be black for now. And then this is the outline. You can leave it without it, or you can just, if you want a little bit thicker, you can adjust there. And then I wanted to try to make it the same size as these. And so I adjusted the font. This basically changes how thick the line is, okay? So nice, quick, easy thing. What I then did was, a really handy tool is actually just the plain old eraser. So you can see here there's lots of different tools that you have, from shapes to here's how you write fonts. But here's the eraser tool. So I really just wanted this half of it, right? So I just basically erased these sections that I didn't want or care about. If this is something to note here, you can actually adjust the how big your thing is. Just double click it and then you can make your eraser bigger just to make it quicker to do this. So if you ever screw up, again, just hit the Control Z or Apple Z if you're using a Mac. And there you go. I just created the kind of image, the half image that I wanted. So now, but then how did I create the heart and get that in? So I created that image. Then all you have to do is create this. You copy it and paste it. And then all you have to do is use this transform function. So you use the right click, or you can go up to the top. There's usually these functions up here as well. Where you just basically go to transform, and you can do all sorts of things. You can rotate it, you can flip it. In this particular situation, I wanted to reflect it. So you notice here, if it was a horizontal reflect, it would look like that, but I want to do a vertical reflect. So I say OK. And now I just reestablish it, my little heart. Now, of course, I didn't do this exactly as like this. I actually did a little bit of editing where I kind of changed the fonts and moved it around and twisted it a little bit. These are just kind of grabbing the edges. You can do these sorts of things. and you can kind of play around with it. Like I really like this idea of having a little bit of an extra cross there, so it kind of had this a little bit of a different look. But you know, that's basically how I created that. So really, for this assignment, all I want you to do is I want you to go in. I want you to try to create your own logo. Come up with a little phrase, like 2 words that you might want to be playing around with. Think of like a possible image that you might want to do. Pull a vector from online, and then create an Illustrator file like this. Oh, important things to notice. You might start off with a very odd shape. If you want to change the artwork or the size, all you have to do is use this thing, Document Setup. So if you click here, what you'll see is Edit Artboard. And so this will get it so that, you know, if you want lots of space initially, maybe you can start off with a lot of space. But then when you're finally done, you feel like you got your good image, you can just cut it right down to the exact size you want, and then hit Enter, and then you're all set. Okay, so then you go back in, and now I've got my image. So then if you want to save this as a file for other things to use, what you use is when you hit save or save as, this will save it as an Illustrator file, which will include all of these layers and whatnot. But if you want to save it out as like a JPEG file or a PNG, those would be the ones that I would recommend for like a web page. You use this save option of Save for Web and Devices. So you click this. It then opens this up, and then you can see here you can pick the type of image you want, from a GIF, JPEG, PNG. Really, for this one, it doesn't really matter what you want to use. I would suggest either a PNG or a JPEG. But so you use this. If you want, you can adjust your image size, layers, but you really don't have to deal with that. Hit save. You then save this as the image that you want, and then you've got your own little logo that you can stick right into web pages. So that's pretty much it for this assignment. I hope you guys got a sense of this, play around with this, and yeah, good luck with it.